talking to you about St Ant's first team manager Martin Montgomery after today's 3-1 loss to Neilston, a result that sadly resulted in the club's relegation to the Third Division in the West of Scotland Football League. Martin, can you give me your take on today's game?
Well, in regards to the game, I actually thought we competed really well, Martin. I really did. I always knew that we had that in us to go out and really make it tough for Neilston, and I felt that we'd done that. We obviously, we lose the first goal and then get a really good early reaction and get it back to one each, and then weather a wee bit of a storm at times and do all the right things and get ourselves in one each at half time. And at that point, my thoughts are, we knew that there was pressure on Neilston as well, with him having a lot riding on it at the other end of the table, and my thoughts at that point were, we had managed to score, we had managed to come in level having been behind, we had managed to frustrate them at times, and I felt that was starting to show a wee bit in some of the stuff coming for the players. And the big positive for me was that I also knew that there was things that we could do better. So I sort of tried to emphasise that to the boys at half time. There was a feel-good factor coming out and coming into the second half. We knew it was going to be tough, but it was just about settling myself back down and getting back in and doing the right things again. And then, unfortunately we conceded a cheap goal, and that sort of derails us probably a wee bit in terms of what the sort of plans were for the second half. Knowing that, at that point, without knowing what was going on elsewhere, knowing that we did need the minimum of a point today, it then sort of changed the whole outlook a wee bit, and all of a sudden, we're not sitting there with something to protect anymore. We're in a position where we've got to go and try and chase it again. So we make a decision to sort of, have a wee bit of a go, and we go to 3-5-2, and we throw Maldo in there, and we mix things up a wee bit, and I feel as if in terms of the flow of the game it works very well. We create a couple of chances, and if we're a wee bit more clinical, we probably score a couple of goals. But when you do that, and the longer it goes, and the more desperate you get to get back into it, you always kind of leave the back door open that wee bit more. And I couldn't comment because a couple of people were saying that the third goal was offside, but eventually against a team of the quality of Neilston, you know what I mean, at some point if you let them in, there's a good chance that they're going to punish you, and that was what happened. The one thing I will say is, all I asked was that we went down fighting, and for as much as some of us weren't at our absolute best today in terms of individual players' performances, every single one of them gave us their tank and more, and that was all I could really ask of them. So if I'm trying to draw a positive for what's a really sore situation and a really hurtful feeling that I've got at the moment, then it's at least we went down fighting.
And obviously the last game of the season next week at Les Mahago, how are we going to approach that one?
Well, to be honest with you, Martin, my chat with the players after the game, what I sort of says to them was, we could have done better at the goals today, and I didn't see the point of getting into anything like that. We were all hurting. There's no point in you sort of compounding that there wasn't any point. And what I told them, and it's one of the oldest cliches in football, is that we are where we are over the course of a season. You don't get relegated over 90 minutes or in a split second making a bad decision within a game, just the same as you don't win a league in 90 minutes. The reality situation is the league table doesn't lie, and it's been over the course of the season that we found ourselves in the position that we're in. So we need to take it on the chin, and we need to, my exact words were, as of this moment, we know what the future holds for the club, certainly, and as of this moment, everything's all going to be about starting to build towards next year. And I include training next week, and I include next week's game in that. We'll be very, we were trying to not take our eye off the ball too much. I've been I've been doing wee bits and bobs in the background, you know, because you've got to be proactive in terms of the longer term project, but at the same time I was trying not to throw myself into that too much for fear of taking my eye off the prize. Now that we know what we are, the pressure's off. We know where our future lies, certainly in the short term in terms of next season. Right away everything's all going to be round about starting to build and get ready for next year, and that'll be round about things like starting to have conversations with the new players that have come in, as well as you know, the existing players that we had, and we'll have the conversations at training, and we'll start to look at maybe one or two things, and even in the game as early as next week at Les Mahago, and give some boys probably that have been really deserving of another opportunity. We'll probably give them that on Saturday, and start to sort of really start to lay the foundations as quick as we can to have a much more positive and successful season next year.
Magic. Cheers, Marty.
All right, thanks, mate.